And that's exactly why I stopped saying yes to everything, especially at work. This video is mostly talking about saying yes at work, but this also applies to life in general. It's not necessarily a feeling of burnout, but in work terms, it's more of a resentment, even though I don't necessarily like to use that word. In the 9-to-5 life, in the search of a promotion or better pay or higher advancement in a company, I stress myself so thin trying to be available for everyone, trying to be available at all times, that I didn't necessarily have anything left for what actually mattered, which was my goals outside of work. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the power of saying no and why, at least for myself, I don't feel that it made me selfish or a lazy employee. It just gave me a greater sense of clarity. When you go through the process of saying yes to everything, you may feel this sense of tiredness over you, but I don't think that you're really tired. I believe that you may be overcommitted. If you're living on autopilot, saying yes to everything that comes across your desk just for the slim chance that you may get the nudge for a promotion or that you may get a 1% boost in pay at the end of the year, there has to be a balance between the benefit that you make from your raise versus the amount of work and extra hours that you put in work that is beyond your job description. And ultimately, I lean on the idea, and this may not make me the best employee, that your mental health should be guarded above all. I had a conversation with a coworker the other day that said that they were working until 10 p.m. one night working on an audit. I do not foresee any reason possible, and you may agree with me, to be working at 10 p.m. at night or even past 6 o'clock. I don't care if there's a deadline to meet. I don't care if there's a project. It just, in my head, it doesn't make sense. I know in some fields this may seem like you have to do, especially around tax time. There's going to be longer hours if you're working in accounting, but still, I don't think that there is an emergency in the 9-to-5 world that can't wait until tomorrow. All of the deadlines are going to be arbitrary at best. It can wait. If it has to be done within 24 hours, then there should have been a greater notice up front to avoid that panic work. And if you allow yourself to become that go-to person that will handle these problems in an emergency and allow people to procrastinate and you still get things done, that will only encourage that situation to continue happening in the future. And when you continue to allow this to happen, you come to a point where you realize after a long day of hard work, what did you actually get done for yourself? I would think just for months on end that I would go to work, do a whole bunch of projects, punch a whole bunch of numbers into a spreadsheet, and then at the end of it all, I would just think, what did I actually do to accomplish what I want to do in my life? Did I write any pages of a book? Did I record any videos? Did I make any thumbnails? Did I look into making websites? Did I do anything for myself? Or did I just wake up, work for someone else, and then go to bed at the end of it? Because every time you say yes to something random, you are going to be saying no to your calling, to your purpose. And this may be a little bit too emotional of a phrase, but I still believe that there's some truth in it, even though it may sound cliche. Whether you realize or not, it's not just about time. It's about your attention that you have every 24 hours, your margins, and your peace. I read an article before that talked about the time that it takes in order to switch tasks, that for you to be the most productive in one given thing, you should do that entire thing as much as possible in one sitting. So for me, if I'm focusing on YouTube content for a particular number of hours for a day, I don't want to have to set up my tripod, record, finish a video, go work and do something else, and then come back and finish recording at the end of the day, because there is a time delay when switching tasks. And this also goes if you're in the same space. For me, it may be setting up a camera, but even if you're working in your 9-to-5 and you're working on one project and you have to start working on another, there's going to be some transition time that is going to be wasted in the process of switching tasks that could be accounted for more efficiently if you continued the one task all the way through. And when you're getting pulled in all directions, people love to say that, oh, it's just one thing, it's just a quick question, it's just one little task, but one thing here, one thing there, and suddenly your whole week is booked with stuff that means nothing to you. And what I like to do now is really be intentional about the things that I agree to. Beforehand, I would be playing basketball a lot with different people on different teams that I didn't necessarily enjoy. I haven't been that much into playing basketball lately after my G League experience, but the things that I wish to say yes to and find opportunities in now is opportunities to serve people, is opportunities to help friends out or to talk to family members, not things that are going to be considered busy work and provide no value, whether emotionally or productivity wise, to my life. And I heard this concept that your identity is going to be defined by what you turn down. And that is derived from the idea that saying yes to everything is a sign of insecurity. One of my biggest examples of this in my personal life was actually going all the way back to high school when I was just starting to become somewhat of a good basketball player. And I had all of these AAU teams calling me, all of these travel ball teams asking me to play for the summer, asking me to play for the weekend. And every single time I would say yes. Yes here, yes there, yes everywhere. And before long, I had to have my high school mentor, his name was Dr. E.J. Brown. He called me, he was like, hey, why are you on 5 different rosters for the summer? How are you playing in 2 different teams this tournament? And you just can't do that. You can't say yes to everybody. And this was probably one of the first times that I really had to to come to the terms with that you just can't please everybody. Some people you have to say no to, whether they are a good person or not. Sometimes you just have to say yes to yourself. And you don't always need an excuse for everything. You don't always need to say, oh no, because, or I can't this time because. No, let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. It's not just about honesty, but it's about decisiveness. I have never personally experienced a wishy-washy person to lead a movement. That is because clarity creates momentum. And if God gave you a clear purpose, as I feel that he has given in my life with the terms of making YouTube videos, indecision is a symptom of disobedience. So here are some ways that you can start saying no without burning bridges, or some ways that I've implemented in my life without hopefully burning bridges. But first things first, is all about practice. You don't just wake up one day and just start saying no to your boss. Like, no, I won't do this project. No, I won't volunteer for this ad hoc agenda that you just put on my plate today. No, I won't do it. In order to build up the self-confidence to do this, it takes a little bit of practice. First, it may sound like, let me think about this and get back to you. Then it may shift into, yes, but that's not going to work for me right now. And then eventually, after training yourself to delay responses, it can eventually just turn into no. Hey, can you pick up this project even though you're busy and have it done by the end of the day? No, I can't do that actually. Can you analyze all this data and have the results to me by the next 48 hours? No, I can't. I can offer you an alternative and say maybe in 72 hours or maybe by the end of the week, but no, not in 48 hours. You don't need a justification on why you can't do it. You don't have to give a backstory of, no, I can't do it because I'm busy with so much other things right now. You should be able to get to a point of saying no without guilt. And I know that in the 9-to-5 world, this may be a little bit more complicated than in personal matters, but I still think that the principle still applies, because unless you are in a hostile work environment, you should be able to work at a comfortable pace without having to overburden yourself with projects in order to get through the end of the day. I don't think that I personally would want to work in a job that provides me with so much work that I feel like I can't say no to unless I'll get fired. I know that may be a privileged way for me to think, and I know everyone can't necessarily think like that if they don't have the same job security that I feel I have, but I still think that in order for your mental health to be at its highest, you have to get to a place where you can say no without fearing repercussions. And here's what I learned once I started protecting my time. The people who really value you in your workspace, in your personal life, in any area of life where you may find valuable people, they respect it. There's not much pushback. There's not much, hey, no, but I really want to. Hey, no, but I really want you to. No, they respect it. Okay, you can't do it right now. If you let me know when you can do it, that's great, but that's fine. I have found that in my work that my supervisors are very receptive to more comfortable deadlines. They are very receptive to having the work done accurately instead of hastily, so that you're able to do your best work possible instead of rushing through it. And I understand that if I start to abuse this freedom of saying no, that it will become a little bit more hostile. I can't just say no and not do the work at all if it needs to be done. I have to then provide an alternative timeline that fits my schedule better, but that is also still within the parameters of when it needs to be done. But the coworkers who are only there and only like you for your availability tend to get quiet. They tend to stop asking you for things because you say no. And that silence is a blessing in disguise. You will start building momentum when you stop trying to be everything for everybody. If you're always available, you're never effective. One of the things when I started a job in this past year was I had a conversation with a coworker. And this probably has nothing to do with the topic of this video, but I'm going to share it anyway. I had a conversation with a coworker. It was an older lady, and she liked to gossip behind your back about, I like to work remotely sometimes. I like to manage my own hours. And I overheard a conversation about it. And me not usually being a confrontational person, I went and talked to her. I was like, hey, we don't have to be friends, but we have to be professional. And if this kind of conversation continues, then we can handle this with our supervisors or our managers or whatever the next level of HR may be. And even though that has nothing to do with the point of this video, the point is that I said no to allowing people to talk behind my back while I'm there. I don't know if they do it while I'm not there, but if I'm there, I said no because I'm going to be someone that is going to confront that head on and say no to something to protect my peace. But as a final challenge for this video, actually it's going to be a little bit different because I'm going to challenge you to reclaim one yes today. And you can reclaim that one yes by saying no. Let me explain. Call someone, cancel a subscription that you don't use, cancel a gym membership if you haven't been there, and argue with the person at the counter so they actually let you cancel it. Delete a meeting on your calendar and then fill that space with something that actually feeds your purpose. Rest, prayer, creativity, whatever it may be. That one act of discipline, that's how you start building the life that you want. One no at a time. Push the boundaries and see exactly how far you can go. If you found any value in this video, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.